Okay, super. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lawrence from MobieTrain. I would like to welcome you to our highly anticipated webinar titled, as you can see on top, how L'Oréal and Van der Valk hotels craft a top customer experience with the help of the 6 top principles of the Butler School. So as you can see today, I'm not alone here. We are honored to present you a very diverse panel of industry experts who will share their invaluable insights into the art of providing this exceptional customer experience. Our first speaker is Vincent Vermeulen. He's a very renowned figure in the world of luxury hospitality and also the director of the Butler School. Vincent will be talking about the guestology, so indeed the 6 steps towards exceptional customer experience. Joining Vincent is also here is Severine. Severine is leader in the hospitality sector and also was representative today here for Van der Valk hotels. And completing the panel is Chris de Waal. Chris is a very dynamic professional in the world of beauty and cosmetics, representing none other than L'Oréal. Throughout the webinar, Vincent, Severine, and Chris will share their wealth of knowledge and practical insights, providing you a glimpse into the world of crafting these top-tier customer experience. So, without further ado, let us welcome first speaker, Vincent, for the kickoff of this webinar. Vincent, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Laurent and the team at MobieTrain for organizing this. My name is indeed Vincent Vermeulen. I am the founder and the director of the School for Butlers and Hospitality. I'm coming from a long line of hospitality professionals. I'm actually a 4th generation. It all started out with my great-grandfather, who was already a butler, my grandparents, who had a little pension at the Belgian coast, and my father took it into a gastronomic restaurant. I went to the hotel school, became a sommelier at the south of France, took over the company of my parents, grew it into something big, and then I sold it. And then I wanted to become a butler just like my great-grandfather. After my career as a butler, I started the School for Butlers and Hospitality, who is located in Hersbergen, Oostkamp here in Belgium. And what we actually do is we train butlers to get ready to work in ultra-high network houses. So that is basically what I do. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and that's not the only thing we do. What we also do is we export the mindset of the butler to, well, let's say, organizations and companies. And we had the good fortune of working together with a lot of amazing brands. And the thing is, every time we go to these brands, they ask us, what is service? And we can every time show them actually that human contact, actually human aspects, is still the number one way to convince your customer. But we've been doing this for years. And as with everyone, COVID hit in March 2020. And we were starting to ask ourselves questions as well. And one of these questions was, do we have enough impact when people go back to the floor in terms of customer experience? Because people were coming to us for a number of reasons, but the number one reason was still that they were experiencing complaints around bad service. Quality and price was actually placed 2 and 3. What we also saw was when they came to us, there were 3 reasons that they came. There were 3 results they were after. The first one was more revenue. The second one was preventing that people would leave the company due to a bad company culture. And the third one was actually to reduce costs. Now, the funny thing is that customer experience can make all of these 3 happen. So the question we were asking was, are our trainings impactful enough? And if we had to be really honest with ourselves, we had to say, not enough. And we were wondering, why was this? There are actually 3 reasons why traditional trainings are not working that good anymore. And it's not the fault of the participants, it's not the fault of the instructors, but something with the system. First of all, when you actually participate in a training, about 4 weeks later, you forget more than half of what you saw in that training. The second problem was when employees go back to the floor, there are very few tools to keep hospitality top of mind. Well, maybe the MobieTrain platform is one, but next to that, there's not that much. And the third problem that we encountered was what we were telling actually to airline companies, we were also telling to car brands and other retailers, but every company and organization has their own DNA. So we had to do something about these three issues. And that is the reason that we created Guestology 2.0. Now, in short, it's actually a 6-step system that will allow you not only to implement customer experience into the organization, but define your DNA. And what we realized was that we were training way too fast. We first had to sit down with the organizations and see what their DNA was. It's only in step 5 of Guestology that we are going to start training. Now, there's another issue with traditional training as well. With traditional training, if you go through, let's say, a program, it stops. At the last step, that's it. You've done it. See you the next time. Guestology 2.0 helps organizations to keep the customer experience in the company. It should be a circular system. So in essence, it's actually something that has a lot of tools that can help you with integrating customer experience. Now, let me go really quickly, with the time I have, through the 6 steps that makes up Guestology. The first one is actually asking the right questions, because if we don't ask the right questions and we keep ignoring customer experience, there are a few consequences. And these consequences are actually reputation going down, loss of talent, because nobody is going to want to work for a company that has bad customer experience and company culture, and your brand is going down as well. And if we look at the future, sometimes people ask me, what is the innovation in customer experience in the next 10 years? I think it's going to be clarity, making sure that the customer simply understands what you're telling them. Same thing for the team. Because if things are not clear, people are going to be confused. And that's something that we have to look at. Now, the thing is that we asked around and we had a survey done with a facility management company. And we asked 6,000 people a number of questions around customer experience. And the first one that we asked was, what elements to you are important to feel a warm welcome? And if you look at the results, you're going to see that, for example, friendliness is at the very top. Then there's parking. Second is personal approach, such as using the name of the guest or the company or the customer. Signage, involvement, eye contact. And what we see is that the top results in this list are human aspects. It has very rarely something to do with infrastructure or technology. Now, the thing is, what this list contains is a very hard truth, because it says that the customer is actually not that interested in you or your organization. A customer, as we probably all are in some way, is only interested in 2 things: personal gain and advantages. So that means that we always buy from emotion. That means that a real estate agent is probably selling family moments instead of a building. A bride is probably buying a memory instead of a wedding dress. And when organizations start realizing what they are really selling, then you're going to figure out that it is emotions. And that's actually the heart of Guestology. Another question you could ask is, how is my signage? How clear is it? Again, clarity. How clear is it for my customer when they come into the building to find their way? Because you don't want them to come into your organization and already be frustrated. So what question is the customer asking themselves? And that is why it's very important to solve these questions, for example, with an FAQ on your website. And it's not that difficult to anticipate. I'll come to that in a second. And another question you could ask is, for example, how do we handle onboarding? Now, this is, of course, internally, when you got new customers, new team members, coming to the organization. So how are we going to handle their welcome? so that they can welcome our customers in a great way. Well, and in Guestology 2.0, we give you a number of tips and tricks and practical tools, such as this one, for example, which we call Beginner's Mind. And Beginner's Mind is very simply a blank book that you give to new employees just to write down their thoughts about customer experience, let's say in the very first 2 months. And the jewels, the little gems that you will find in these writings are absolutely amazing. Ask your new team members, what do they think about customer experience? So that brings us to step 2. Now, this is a bit more a philosophical one. I'm not going to elaborate on this one, but I can advise you to read this book. If Disney ran your hospital, 9.5 things you would do differently. It's about values, and it's all about getting everybody on the same page. Very interesting. Go and have a look. Step 3 in Guestology is something which you probably know. It's probably an exercise you've done before. It's where you map out your customer experience. And we do this, of course, with our customers. For example, the people from Van der Valk have done this exercise. And we go in real detail as to the customer journey and what happens when. But what we add to this is an element called anticipation. And anticipation is simply thinking, what does my customer need, or what do they want before they know that they want it themselves? And I brought a small example of anticipation, because some of you are maybe thinking butlers can anticipate really easily because they're working for the people in the world with the most resources. But I can tell you that anticipation comes from the heart. It's not coming from the wallet. Now, what you see here on the screen is the second best hotel in Los Angeles. It's called the Four Seasons Hotel. Now, the Four Seasons Hotel is the number 2 out of 307 hotels, according to TripAdvisor. Now, if I would ask you, which is the best you think, you're probably going to come up with some famous brands. However, the number 1 hotel in LA is this one, the Magic Castle. And this is because these people actually anticipate a number of questions by their guests. For example, you're sitting around the pool with children, and they're going to bother you the whole day. They're going to ask you everything, and especially ice cream. And these people at the Magic Castle said, we're going to anticipate this. So what they did was they hung up a phone for the kids at the pool only to order ice cream. They call it the popsicle hotline. And it's that easy to anticipate. So that's step 3, a warm welcome. Step 4 is my personal favorite. It's all about language. And you know, of course, that language exists in 2 parts. We've got the verbal and we've got the nonverbal. Now, I can tell you a lot about nonverbal communication, but it's all in the small details. A folded hand, even when somebody is smiling, might mean that they are frustrated. And all of these little signs will tell you much more about the customer. Now, if you are ever in, let's say, a conversation with more than one customer, don't watch the customer you're talking to. Watch the one who's not participating in the conversation. Those are going to be extremely honest reactions. Now, of course, we got the verbal part as well. And this is where we train our butlers heavily. A butler who knows how to talk is, to my humble opinion, the best butler around. And for that reason, what we do is we take parts away from their vocabulary. And why do we do this? Because we want them to think before they speak. And it's actually very simple. During our 8-week butler training, there are 4 expressions which we want to avoid. And these are the ones. We don't use okay. We don't use no problem. And we don't do this to annoy our students, but it's actually to make them think, because we're actually sometimes confused about service. How many times have you gone into a shop and somebody came up to you and asked the question, can I help you? It's actually a question most of us don't like. And actually, it can trigger completely different reactions. And sometimes you even want to step out of the store. So this is language. And you can actually put this in a manual, if you will. And this is what we do to assist our customers as well. We have them, we got manuals for them around body language, about how to serve things. We go into the smallest details. And a number of our customers will actually testify to that. Step number 5, that's what it's all about. It's, of course, learning over those principles. It's all about training. And of course, training hasn't evolved that much in the last 200 years. We've been stuck in the let's say, the systems we've always known. Because if you look at innovation, for example, if you look at the office, it has evolved. If you look, for example, at cars, it has evolved. But if you look at a traditional classroom, not much has evolved. And we've seen in COVID that actually we have a delay in education, the biggest ever. And the fact is that if, for example, a child starts this year his education and maybe retires in 2080, we're actually training them now to do a job in 2080. And we don't even know how the world is looking like in 5 years. And that is, for example, where MobieTrain comes in. Because lifelong learning is not optional. To my humble opinion, it's essential. So that kind of wraps it up. Step 6 is actually keeping it in the company, keeping it in the culture. For example, with the system of sharing everything that you experience in the organization, because you've got maybe multiple employees experiencing beautiful things and they're not being shared with other employees who might inspire them. To finish it off, I'm going to tell you one little story, and it's about this place. It's Death Valley in the United States, one of the hottest places on earth. Nothing grows there. Nobody wants to go there. But in the spring of 2005, something very special happened. It rained. It rained for 2 weeks. And a few weeks later, this happened. And that means that Death Valley is not dead, but it's sleeping. So that might mean that guestology is maybe not dead in your organization, but it's sleeping. So that's my part, Laurent.
Super. Thank you so much, Vincent, for these insights already. You already mentioned the Four Seasons Hotel, and of course that aligns or links very much to Séverine, of course, and with Van der Valk, a family-owned business. Based on what Vincent already told you, and of course you are working with together with Vincent, what kind of initiatives, Séverine, do you carry out to involve your employees and improve eventually the customer experience within your hotels and restaurants?
Guest experience and guest relations is a very important topic in our hotel. We try to involve every employee in this story, and that it's very important to handle with complaints or with a guest that is not very happy about his experience. So to communication is there a very important part in the whole guest experience and the guest relations part. So the initiatives that we take is, for example, we did a spring breakfast in April, to really celebrate our result, our Q1 result. We had a result of 4.5 on the reviews. That's an amazing result, because on 3 months, every month to have a 4.5, that's just a very good result, and that's a team effort from everybody. So to us and our management, really think that it's important, and that's what I learned as well from Vincent, is to tell the good story to everybody. You need to just shout it out to every employee, and that was a spring breakfast that we did outside, so every employee could just pick something from the breakfast, from the buffet, and we put some tables outside. So it was very lovely with some flowers. And then you just take a moment to tell them, thank you very much. And this is really a team achievement. So that's something that we do. But we also share all the positive reviews, all the surveys from the clients that are very happy. We post them on a day-to-day business in our Teams chats, on emails. In our canteen, we have a screen that we put on the positive reviews. Just, it really... to repeat it, that's really an important one, and that's also what I and my guest relations manager learned in Vincent trainings from the guestology.
Okay, also very insightful. You're also, Vincent also talked about onboarding. Are there some specific, because you're working a lot with customer-facing roles, frontline people, let's say. Is there a difference in your approach when it comes to hospitality, etc.? So more in the onboarding phase towards those frontline workers?
Yeah, we will take some other extra actions that we learned from Vincent as well, like the book. That's something that we integrated already, but just onboarding really is very important. From a person in housekeeping to the dishwasher, everybody needs to know our room types. Where is our sky bar, restaurant? So also location is very important. That just every guest that asks a question to every employee needs to know the answer. So that's really an important one, and that's our focus as well.
Yeah, telling one shared vision and one shared story.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Severin. Shifting very also quickly in the meantime to Chris. Chris said 39 years is a long time that you're in the same company working with L'Oreal, so you have a very privileged view also on customer experience. And you told us in our conversations before, of course, that you're trying to, or doing also a good job to professionalize the hairdressing market, improving quality and CX. Can you tell me, in line with what Severin already told us, and Vincent, of course, what initiatives you are pursuing in that way?
Yeah, there is. We are working, in fact, on quality, and the quality in the hairdressing business has evolved enormously. Because in the 60s, women went every week to the hairdressing salon. Nowadays, if they go 4 times a year, 5 times a year, it's already a big success. So it's not anymore the pure technical quality that matters nowadays. Is the service quality and is the quality of the customer experience. And since 40 years at L'Oreal Professional Products, so we're working only for hairdressers. Since 40 years, we have a service that was called Club Gestion, Business Club, and that's called nowadays House of Business. And I will show you a little presentation. Give me 1 minute. Voilà. So what are we doing? House of Business is working for the hairdressers in the Benelux. We help, that's our why, I think Simon Sinek, who's always talking about the why. Our why is helping to develop and professionalize the hairdressing market. Because the hairdressing market needs help and has to evolve in the same way that restaurants and hotels did in the past. We need to professionalize. How are we doing this? We're giving seminars, webinars. We have an education platform for business education. We do one-to-one consulting. I have a little team, myself and 2 other consultants, and so we don't sell products. The only thing we do is help hairdressers to develop their concept. We work with pros, so with hairdressers. We work also with experts, and one of these experts is Vincent, who gives trainings to our clients and who's one of our preferred partners. And since this year, we also organize podcasts, and I'll show you a photo of the podcast we organized with Vincent, together with Laura Bonen from Mozart in Hasselt, and you will receive in the link afterwards a video that she has done for VTM, where she's interviewed, and you will see the 7 steps of the salon emotion. And in fact, our House of Business has 5 rooms. We work on finance, we work on team management, we work on social media, we work on sustainability, and we also work on customer experience. And the customer experience program that we develop for our clients, for our hairdressers, is called Salon Emotion, the Salon Emotion Experience. And we have launched it almost 10 years ago, and there are almost 1,000 salons that in the in Belgium and Luxembourg that followed this education day. So what is it talking about? It's the 7 steps of the customer experience, and the first step is attract me. We have to attract clients to the salon, and we can do it in a traditional way via the window, the physical window. Nowadays, it has to be done also by the digital window. And hairdressers are very technical. They're not really always, they have not really the management skills or the communication skills. So what we advise them is to have some specialists, some preferred partners who can help them with their digital window. The second step is welcome me. And Vincent already talked about it. The welcome me is very, very important. He talked about personalization. And there the hairdresser has a big advantage to other companies. Sorry, to other companies, because 95% of the salons work with appointment. So even if you have a new client, normally you can know the name, and you can when he comes in, you can use the name. Second thing that we try to explain to our hairdressers is that they can work with a host, because the hairdresser has to do everything. He needs to work. He does the cutting, the coloring, but he also has to answer the phone. So if he takes a host, he can really higher up his emotional experience. The third thing, is wow me. And there I presume that you say wow me. What does it mean? So it's the moment after the welcome that has to be a wow moment. And in many cases, it's not a wow moment, because imagine you're sitting in the chair, the hairdresser is behind you, and before starting, he says, "What are we going to do?" That's not something that a customer is waiting for. She is coming, or he is coming, for a professional advice. She wants to know what doesn't fit, what fits very well, how long it will take, and what it will cost. And that's what we call the diagnosis. So if you do that very well, then you can go to the next level, and the next level is relax me. If you don't do the diagnosis as it should be, then the customer stays stressed, and she won't have a good moment. Relax me is the back bar, the backwash. Imagine that you are in a separated room with a backwash, with some nice music, eventually dimmed lights, perfume, and where nobody speaks. You can stay there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes with a massage. Then you have a real fantastic experience. You get out, you'll get back in the salon, and then the hairdresser will reveal you. Reveal you will say that he will do the cutting and the coloring, and a good hairdresser will always explain what he's doing to give you trust, because the customer is not a hairdresser, so can't imagine what is going on, what will be the final result. Once we have the final result, we go to the 6th step, and the 6th step is empower me. And it's give you the power to be beautiful 24/7. Because in the 60s, as I said, women went every week to the hairdresser. So they didn't have to do something themselves. Nowadays, it's 2 times a year, 4 times a year, 6 times a year. But if the hairdresser gives the right advice, the right techniques, and the right products, then she can, in between 2 visits, she can be very beautiful. And on the way of the products, L'Oréal sells products a bit everywhere. The products that we sell in the Deleuze and Colorado are very good products, but you have to know, you see that I work for L'Oréal professional products. The professional products are better, are not cheaper, but have the same price per application, in fact, because you have to use less than with the traditional product. And the 7th step is care for me. because the woman comes 2, 4, or 6 times a year, you have to contact them in between 2 visits. You can do it via mailings, but for example, if there has been a big transformation on cutting and coloring, some hairdressers take the phone and they call their clients a week after to see if everything is going on. So I think with this 7-step model, I think it's applicable in. I'm convinced it's applicable in the hairdressing sector, but the same things are applicable in other sectors. So that was my presentation.
Yeah, super. Thank you, Chris. Indeed, I think a lot of links also to be made in the story of Vincent, and also Séverine. Coming back to you, communication. Indeed, the communication, like tooling, but also telling this compelling story to your employees or to your team, was also very important on your part, where you focused a lot on. Can you elaborate on that part?
Yeah, communication is very key in our business, in the hospitality business, because if you have a customer that had a bad experience, for example, in the restaurant, our handovers are just with so much information that we can, for example, if a guest had a bad experience in the restaurant, something happened, or the food was not good. We always try to solve the problem directly in the restaurant, but we work with handovers, and every complaint is noted in the handover. And like my team from the front office team is reading when they start the shift in the morning. They read the handover from yesterday, what happened in the F&B department. So that's an example. But that's really key, because then everybody is aware of it. And numbers are clear, like Vincent told in the training, that every customer is frustrated if they need to tell it's 2 or 3 or 4 times their complaint and it's not solved. So yeah, that is really something that we are busy with also on day-to-day business.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, and also that was the case for you, Chris, is also the repetition of certain procedures to get it really aligned for every different role in your hospitality infrastructure, let's say, or organization.
Yeah, we have I explained that Salon Emotion is a seminar that we already organize since almost 10 years, and we adapt every 6 months. So some salon owners have already been following the seminar 3 or 4 times, because every time they come, there's something new, there's an update, and the second step that they do is, from time to time, that we can give the education for the whole team, because that's the problem for the hairdresser. He's educated, but then the message has to go to the work floor, and that's from time to time a little bit more difficult.
Okay, super. I don't know about the audience. Laura, did we already got some questions? I know there were some questions about again the onboarding, but I think we already covered that. Maybe, for example, Séverine, in terms of onboarding in the Van der Valk hotels, we already explained. We have housekeeping, you have restaurant people, so a lot of different customer-facing roles. Is it any different? Like, can you explain, for example, the first day, first week? What's the procedure with you guys to get them really on board fast?
We give them a buddy. The starter is assigned to a buddy, and he or she will go for the next 3 weeks, same shifts, same person that they are on the shift, and then the buddy give them like the short explanations, shows them where they can eat, all the practical information. But it's important that it's just one person that they are next to, and not everybody, that it's each day a different person, a different face. So that's also part of our onboarding. And the buddy gives a bit of an evaluation after 3 weeks to the manager. So they talk very shortly about the starter, and that's also something that is an important one for me.
Yeah, okay. That's, again, super insightful. In terms of questions, Laura, do we have some questions from the audience at this point?
Not yet, but I tried to ask on the chat if you have any question or if you want to share your own experience, best practice, feel free to share. We are here for you. So don't be too shy.
Yeah.
I can give you another example of onboarding, in fact, because our Salon Emotion program is 1 day of education, but we also have another education product, if you want to. It's called Salon Emotion on Wheels. And there we put the hairdressers in a bus, and we go and visit 4 salons so that they can see that it really is possible to put everything in place. And in fact, it's the pro that convinces the pro.
Okay. No, yeah, that's also a good example. I don't know if there are no questions. I think yeah, we are about.
If I just may, Laurent, just to complete the onboarding thing. What we've seen is that you've got a number of obstacles in order to implement customer experience. And one of those is what we call attitude. Now, we are all saying that we're in the war for talent, but I think we might be in the war for attitude as well. And there's a small story in my book that explains somebody being in the banking industry. And this person was actually frustrated about the fact that the employees would never put their coffee cups into the dishwasher. And these were all great employees, but they never did it. So that attitude wasn't there. And that person asked me, how can I solve this? And I said, you know what? The next time you have a job interview with someone, just put a piece of paper on the floor before they come into your office. The first one who picks up the paper, that's the one with the right attitude. And actually, I learned that from my grandmother, who had the hotel, and she interviewed a number of people to do dishwashing. And she saw 4 people. And I said to my grandma, which one of the 4 are you going to take on in the team? And she said, well, that was very obvious because there was only one who brought his own apron. So that one was prepared and had the right attitude. So I think that not only attracting people into the organization and matching it with the DNA is important, but the onboarding process even before they come into the team. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, we have a question from Marco Cerny. I'm going to and from I'm going to share this on the screen. So it's for you, Chris. The question is, how do you explain your beautiful customer experience to the people in the shops? How do you train the shop floor on that?
We have different levels of training. So we have the one day seminar that normally is for the hairdresser, for the manager. As I explained, we can do it for the whole team. But we also have an education platform, which is called an internal education platform, in fact, from L'Oréal, which is called Access, where everyone can follow an online training, a webinar for 1 hour with a quiz, so they can see what on which level they are trained. And there is one big difference between, I say, 2 years ago and today. 2 years ago, our salespeople were really salespeople. They sold products. Nowadays, from the 1st of July on, they won't be able to sell products anymore. And they're not salespersons anymore. They are business partners. So I explained that we have a little team of 3 consultants, but from the 1st of July on, I will have 30 business partners on top of that. And they go every month, they do a visit to the salon. So it's their role after the seminar to check and to give little education tips for the hairdresser, for the manager, and for the team.
Perfect. I think it's very clear. And of course, Marco, if you have something more, always feel free. And we have another question. This is really interesting because it's like in the future, and I think it's for everyone. I don't know if Lauren, if you want to answer. How artificial intelligence does support your customer experience program now, or will be in the future?
I will give an answer, but I can't give the answer because I know that L'Oréal is working hard on it. I know that for the beginning of next year we will be present also with the professional products in the metaverse. So it's coming, but I don't know the details for the moment.
If I just may, I think that if you look at AI, it's very strange to compare it with the car. Everybody said the car changed the world, but essentially oil changed the world because it used to drive on, fossil fuels. And I think that AI is going to be the fuel for the next customer experience. I think there's going to be a layer on top of AI that will need to, let's say, manifest that customer experience. AI is going to be on the backstage. And I think that we're going to have to be very, very careful to make sure that AI doesn't stay AI, that it doesn't stay artificial, but that it touches the human aspects. So I think it's technology. It's going to go forward, but we have to look at it as a sort of a fuel, and then we have to build on top of that. That's what I think what's going to happen.
Yeah, and in terms of competitive edge, I think AI is of course here to stay. Do you think, Vincent, that for example, companies like L'Oréal or let's say in the fashion retail, food retail business, AI is going to be a competitive edge in terms of, let's say, chatbots, but also help desk, etc. If we're more looking at those digital channels in terms of reply, in terms of replying to customer complaints or customer service, let's say.
Absolutely. I think it. Well, once again, we're going to have to look at it as a tool, like we invented the wheel ages ago, and it's a tool we're going to work with. But I think that tool will need to be humanized as well. So it's going to be all about the applications who's going to be built on top of AI, and it's going to be the internet all over again. The user interface is going to be so very important, and if it's driven by AI and you can make it human, I think we're going to see some amazing stuff.
Yeah. I think making it human, and also, you're always going to need humans. You're also going to need people, having to control over the tool that you are using. And we're talking about tools. It's a good link to the next question as well. It's both in Dutch, so I think Claudia, you can also present it.
Thank you.
But I think
sure.
The English translation is like, which tools are you guys using to track, really monitor your customer experience and just the overall satisfaction, and what are the KPIs linked to it? So I don't know, Chris or Severine or Vincent.
I can answer that one. We are using Revenate, so for the surveys and for the reviews. So Revenate is taking all the accounts of Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and put it all together, and then you can just track the reports of every month, how your result is against competitors as well. So that's really an important one. But also feedback from the restaurants is linked with our restaurant reservation system. So we track a lot of information about that one as well. And our KPIs is a 4.5 on the reviews. That's our targets. And we had it for 3 months now. So that's a really, really good result.
Yeah, and in the hairdressing business, I think we're not the first in a row. The salons now, most of the salons now have a salon software system where they can follow their income and the way the money comes in. Lots of salons are on Google My Business and have their reviews on Google My Business, but I don't think that we are at the level of Van der Valk, for example.
Vincent, you see there a shift in for example, your client portfolio and tools that
Well, you have all of these systems, of course, and one of the better known ones is, for example, the NPS system, which is used widely. But once again, I have to advocate the human side because, of course, when you have big organizations, you need these tools in order to manage all of that data. But going on to a customer and just asking a sincere question, like example, you've been a valuable customer for a long time. Would you able to share with me what the two things are that really bothers you about our product or organization? And I think if you ask that man to man, person to person, I think you're going to get some honest responses. And I think that those responses are a bit more complete than what we see in the systems. Because of course, if I fill out a review, it's like a one-way communication. So if they would say, for example, let's say we're talking about a hotel and they say, we don't really like the temperature. And I would say the temperature, and they would really elaborate on what they mean. If they would wrote down the temperature in a survey, it's very hard to see those little details. So I think that all of these systems have their place, but once again, fuel it with human aspects.
Yeah. On top of that, you clearly stated like the problem with a lot of organizations focusing a lot on CX. One of them are sales, also getting the right talent to onboard, because you have a lot of again different roles, but also you have FTEs, but also flexi jobbers, for example, in Belgium, or students. Also like higher costs because of inflation. Also, we had COVID, etc. Now, what do you feel is like? Is it a combination always of all these different challenges that companies are having, or do you see like a red thread in that one really in last year or this year it's really on top?
I think that COVID has been a very good thing because I think for 10 years or maybe longer, I speak about the split between the lower market, the middle market, and the higher market. And I think that COVID has done that the middle market has difficult now. So we will have as I speak for the hairdressers, we will have many small salons who are giving a basic service, who will focus on the quality of the work with the one-to-one contact that is very interesting. And on the other hand, I think we will have salons with lots of service, lots of customer experience. And there was a salon that was opened in Antwerp with an individual aspect. So the clients are in a cocon, and instead of the client going around in the salon, it's the hairdressers or the beauticians that come in the cocon to give the service. So these are new concepts that are coming in now, and I think that is really the future of the high-level market hairdressing.
Okay. Vincent, you have any addition there where you see it in the broader market?
Well, I think COVID was a reset, and everybody staying at home in COVID said, I miss meeting people. Once COVID was over, I never heard anyone say, I miss my TV or my PlayStation. The thing is that if you look over the last decades, we had all of these tools coming into modern society. But the strange thing is we talk about innovation so much, but the things that always stay with us for centuries and centuries is, for example, friendliness, is human communication. And it's actually building on top of these old traditions, if you will, that goes parallel with technology. And if you need to be really honest, I think technology is always catching up with the human factor, which obviously is logical, because if not, we wouldn't invent it. So I think there's a shift, but I think that the shift is not that big as well. I think there's just a different form factor. as where we went from the letter to email and from email maybe to video. I think it's just the form factors that changing, but the essence is always the same. It's not business to consumer. It's not business to business. It's human to human.
Yeah. Super. I think that's a very good recap of what has been told. That the human factor is a very important, stays a very important element. I see you, Chris. You raised your hand. You want to add to that, or?
Yeah, because the human factor, I think the problem in the hairdressing business is that the hairdresser has to do everything. So what we try to explain them is I already talked about a host. That's not someone with a hairdresser profile. We also explain them that they can, at the backwash, they can put someone who is not a hairdresser, but who is a specialist in massage. Mm-hmm. A little bit like the sommelier in a restaurant. And eventually, you can make color specialists. And to be a color specialist, you don't need to be a hairdresser, because it's... in fact, it's almost 100% technique, and technique is something that everyone can learn. So if you imagine then a salon with 6 people, it's 3 hairdressers and 3 non-hairdressers. And in my opinion, that could be the big opportunities for the future. Also to hire this quality of experience.
Yeah. Okay. Super. I'm looking at Laura. I think no more question has been posed in the webinar. So I think this is a good moment to conclude. We also had some polls.
Yeah, exactly. I like to do some polls during the webinar, and especially after the end, because I always like to know if they get helpful insight from the webinar. So first of all, thank you to all our guests. It was a pleasure for us to share this webinar together with you. Thank you for your experience and best practice. And for all the participants, we are going to share all the information, the recordings, the presentation in the upcoming few days. And of course, if you have questions, if you want to know more, always feel free to get in touch with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris, Séverine, and Vincent. And as Laura said, we'll follow up in the upcoming days to keep you posted on, also how you can apply these principles to create a top customer experience. So thank you all, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.